Hello friends, this video is a quick introduction to coding in R. I'm just going to load data from an RData file and create a subtable. This is the RData file I want to load data from. I'm going to copy the absolute path to it and then go back to R and call the load function. I'll paste in the path to the file. The documentation for the load function explains that it loads a data set that was previously saved. It also returns a list of names of the variables that were loaded. Invisible means that this returned value is not displayed by default, but I'm going to store it in a variable and then display that. So we can see that this file contains a single data frame named whatever. You might think of a data frame as a table of data, similar to a spreadsheet. A data frame has named columns, sometimes called variables in R lingo, and rows, sometimes called observations. The dimension or dim function will tell you the number of rows and columns in the data frame. If you want to find the number of rows or columns, you can use the inRow and inCol functions, not inRows as I had typed at first. The names function will list out all the columns of a data frame. R makes it pretty easy to see that there are 117 columns, but to see that more explicitly, I can use the length function. Next, I'm going to create a new data frame that copies just a few of these columns. I'm going to start off by using column indexes instead of names and get the first 3. I check the dimensions of my new table. It has 3 columns, as I would expect. If I look at the names, they are indeed the first 3 columns from the original data frame. The head function is a handy way to see just the first few lines of a very large data frame. The arguments to the function are the data frame and the number of rows to display. Now I want to tack 2 more columns onto my data frame by name. I pick out the general health and marital status columns. At first, I typed this out wrong. I want to retrieve just these 2 columns from the data frame and attach them to my subtable. If I had done it correctly, it would now have 5 columns. When I see that it doesn't, I realize I made a mistake. I've got to back up a bit and recreate my subtable. Then I can bind the additional columns. The correct syntax uses the letter C and parentheses to create a vector. This way I can get the 2 columns and attach them to my subtable with cbind, or bind column. I should note that bind column is only useful in a case like this where all my data is coming from one table and all the rows match up. When combining columns from different tables, you'd want to use merge instead of bind column.